Hi, my name is Randy Deibel. I am the Communications Director of the North American Society for Early Phenomenology, and I also represent a number of different phenomenological and other scientific enterprises, organizations, institutions, and where I am now is a forest cemetery in Munich, and with some difficulty, I have finally found the grave of Hedwig Conrad-Martius, which is right here. So, if you know who Conrad-Martius is, there you go. This is very exciting. If not, let me just say a couple words about who she is. Very briefly, she is the godmother of Edith Stein. Okay, Edith Stein is a Catholic saint, a patron saint of Europe, Saint Benedicta of the Cross. Around these parts, where I've been traveling the past few days, she is well known as being a saint. Her name is the name of buildings and streets, and her relics are encased in gold and jewels and on display at a cathedral in Speyer, in Cologne, perhaps other places. So in the Catholic world, Edith Stein is actually pretty well known and appreciated. In the academic world, she is also pretty well known in phenomenological circles because she was a student of the first generation of Husserl students. At Göttingen, she was a student, and she represents a very important style of phenomenologizing, and in fact, she was also an important force in Husserl's own philosophy, in his early transcendental phenomenology and in his phenomenology of essence. She helped edit and organize and gather his lectures on inner time consciousness, and famously, for example, Dermot Moran in his introduction to that book, and in his, for example, his introduction to the book on the crisis of the European sciences and transcendental phenomenology, he explains the story of how, Edith Stein did all this work, and then when Martin Heidegger came on the scene, he sort of took over all that work, and eventually his name went on it as Husserl's editor. So it's an unfortunate situation personally with Heidegger. But a lot of work is being done lately. For example, Ruth Hagengruber of the Paderborn Center for the History of Women Philosophers and Scientists is really focusing on the women phenomenologists, Hedwig Conrad-Martius and Edith Stein and Gerda Walther, and so many other women, not only of phenomenology, but for each man in the patriarchal history that we're given of science and philosophy, there are women doing science and philosophy, very important work. And this resource, humanity will soon be drawing upon more and more heavily, and this will change the landscape more and more quickly. So this is exciting. This is a part of this adolescing or senescing in the best sense of humanity, and hopefully we're moving out of this juvenile stage in our science and our philosophy to a more synthetic, more integrated perspective on all these things. And the hope is that we can change the paradigm. So anyway, this is very important work, and the topics that are being dealt with in the work of Hedwig Conrad-Martius and the other people that I've focused on, especially lately, is of profound ontological import and even theological import. And so Edith Stein is a Catholic saint, but Hedwig Conrad-Martius was not Catholic, but she was her godmother. They obtained an exception because Conrad-Martius is very important for Edith Stein. Edith Stein was raised to sainthood because the Church, John Paul II, and like Anna Teresa Timonetska of the World Phenomenology Institute of the journal Analecta Husserliana, who was really close with John Paul II, these folks and other people in the Church recognized the importance of this science of essences, this phenomenology. So they raised her to sainthood. There are mundane reasons for this, transnatural reasons for this, religious reasons, but the real reason is scientific, and that's where, you know, doctors of the church operate, the so-called doctors of the church, you know, people who contribute not only to arts and sciences in a spiritual or religious sense, but to metaphysics, to perhaps theological metaphysics, but it could also be a kind of metaphysics for science, the kind of science that we practice today, the kind that has led to this world of profound technology and of a rapidly changing human reality. So as it changes, as we roll into this next phase, I don't know, spatial computing, whatever's going to be happening coming soon in this next part of the information age, artificial intelligence, this next part of the space age, you know, I think that the metaphysical philosophy, the phenomenology of Hedwig Conrad-Martius is going to play a major role. So it was very difficult for me to find this grave at this point. I hope that my work will, this video and my photos of this and what I write coming out of this and everything, all the various forms of media about this place and the importance of Hedwig Conrad-Martius will help people understand in the future not only how important Hedwig Conrad-Martius is more generally, but exactly more precisely the kind of contribution that her work makes to humanity at large, and the kind of synthesis, the integration of an integral philosophy that it provides, and the changing of the paradigm from all these different paradigma to, you know, the truth, the reality of the ultimate paradigm, having to do with nothingness and the infinite and things like this, shunyata, the void, the emptiness which is fullness, you know, the absolute infinite, the infinite sphere. So perhaps these are theological categories, but you know, there's a lot of different ways of approaching this. What brought me originally to Europe this trip was my conference, Thinking the Float Tank, and you can find a number of videos on that from West End Hague, who was this incredible team that helped put together Thinking the Float Tank last week. And you'll find a lot of phenomenology, as well as cybernetic metaphysics, a variety of different disciplines contributing to this deep and heavy kind of work, meditating upon these topics and sharing some really profound methods and techniques for getting into that phenomenological spiritual space where you can have religious experiences, where you can bring these experiences into your everyday life and into your scientific practice, even just ordinary mundane sciences that are fully in the natural attitude and don't appreciate the metaphysics of the transcendental and the spiritual scientific work, the research and development that is happening in these areas. I really think that we're moving into a new epoch, I hope. And a lot of it is thanks to Hedwig Conrad-Martius. So here she is, here we are, and that's my little expression, my little sharing about the context of this important thinker.